The President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Today the chamber continues hearing the testimony of the civil party, Mr. M. Un. Questions continue to be put by counsels for the accused persons, and counsel for Nuon Chea will proceed with their questions. However, before we hand over the floor to counsels for the civil party, the chamber wishes to inform parties to the proceedings that during this week hearing, commencing from Tuesday the 28th of August 2012, Judge Silver Cartwright has her personal commitment that she is not able to attend the whole proceedings. Having discussed with fellow judges of the trial chamber, Judge Claudia Fens is now taking over from Judge Silver Cartwright when she is absent. When Judge Silver Cartwright is back, then she will be sitting again, and we have followed internal rule 79.4 of the concerning this replacement. Psychology, could you please report to the chamber on the current status and presence of the parties to the proceedings? The greffier. Good morning, Mr. President. All parties to the proceedings are present, except Mr. Ingsari, who is present but in his holding cell. Mr. Ingsari has waived his right to participate directly in the courtroom through his counsel for the entire day today. His waiver has already been submitted to the chamber. The next witness to give testimony is TCW 480. The witness is in the waiting room, awaiting call. The witness has already indicated that according to the witness' best knowledge, the witness has no connection or relationship affiliated with any of the parties to the proceedings or the civil parties who have been admitted before this chamber. The witness has already taken an oath. Thank you, Mr. President. The President, thank you. We now rule on the request by Mr. Ingsari dated the 28th of August 2012, the request submitted through his counsels, in that he has asked that he be allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell for the entire day. Dr. Kam Som San, who has examined Mr. Ingsari, indicates that Mr. Ingsari is fatigued when he moves and he can't speak for a long period of time, and when sitting his both legs become swollen, and he has also lower back pain. For that, the doctor recommends that he be allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell. And the chamber therefore grants such a request, and at the same time the chamber notes that Mr. Ingsari is mentally able to observe the proceedings from his holding cell. By doing so, the chamber notes that Mr. Ingsari can still communicate with his counsel through audio link. Mr. Evidentiary is now allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell, which is downstairs, through the video link for the whole day. AV booth officers are now instructed to ensure that the AV audio equipment is well connected to the holding cell so that Mr. Evidentiary can observe the proceedings from there. Without further ado, we would like now to hand over to counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia to proceed with their questions to Mr. Am Nguyen. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to everyone. Welcome to Judge Fence specifically, and good morning to you, Mr. M. Un. I will proceed where I left off yesterday, and again I will try to speak slowly, and I will try to ask simple questions. And my first question, Mr. M. Un, relates to the political meeting in Borai Kela that you attended. In which year was this meeting that you attended?
Response. I did not attend the training or study session at Borai Kela. And I don't remember the exact date, but I believe that it was conducted in July.
Okay. Just to clarify your answer, because I think the translation may have been off, you did testify that you attended a political training session in Borai Kela. Is that correct?
Response. Yes, I did.
And you just testified that this training session was in July. In which year did this training session take place?
Response. It was either late 1977. I believe it was in late 1977.
Just to get the timeline right, when did you come to Phnom Penh to be at the hospital?
Response. I came to the Soviet hospital in June 1975.
And how long had you been at the hospital when you attended the political training session in Borai Kela?
The President, Civil Party, could you please hold on? National Co-Lead Lawyer for the Civil Party, is you on your feet? You may proceed. Counsel Pick Ong. Good morning, Mr. President. I still recall that when I put the question to Mr. Am Un last week, I already asked him to confirm the date, in particular the time when he arrived the hospital and when he also attended the study session at Borai Kela. So these questions were already put and responded, Mr. President. The President, Mr. Civil Party, you may now respond to the question by the counsel for Mr. Nunchi, as the Chamber wishes to know the date, the relevant dates relevant to the facts, because his knowledge, your knowledge of the dates is very important to help us understand the truth. Response. As I already stated, about the dates before, as the lead co-lawyer for the civil parties indicated.
I will ask the question again because it's not clear from your answers. How long after you arrived in Phnom Penh at the hospital how long did it, excuse me, I will rephrase the question to make it very simple. How long after you arrived in Phnom Penh to be at the hospital, how long after that date did the political training session at Borei Kela take place?
Response. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I cannot recall it, but I think it was about 2 months before I attended that political session.
And then maybe something is lost in translation again. You arrived in Phnom Penh in June 1975. This is what you just stated. How long after June 1975 did you go to Borei Kela to attend a political training session? Was it several months after June 1975? Was it a year after June 1975? Was it several years after June 1975?
Response. Counsel, I believe that I cannot grasp your question. Could you please put it again?
How long had you been working at the Khmer Soviet Friendship Hospital before you attended the political training session at Borei Kela?
Response. I already stated that it was 2 months after that before I attended the political study session. It was in late June that I entered Phnom Penh, and then after that it was 2 months after my arrival in Phnom Penh that I attended that study session.
Then, if it was 2 months after you arrived in Phnom Penh, and you arrived in Phnom Penh in June 1975, is it correct to state that, according to your recollection, you attended that training session around August or September 1975?
Civil Party. President, International Court Prosecutor, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an objection to the last question that was just asked. Now, previously, the civil party provided an answer regarding his involvement in his first meeting at Borikela. He said that he had attended at the end of June or early July 1977, and I believe that he has been entirely honest. It should be recalled of the dates the civil party has provided to us, and any clarification sought if there's contradiction. But I believe that Council perhaps has not paid attention to all of the pieces of information that have been provided by the civil party. Thank you.
I have trouble understanding this objection by the prosecutor. Whether or not the civil party has been accurate and truthful in his earlier statements and in the information he has provided to the chamber, that is what we are here to establish. Obviously, it is a crucial issue as to whether or not he can accurately remember dates and whether or not he can accurately remember things that have been said or that have not been said. A first glance at the applications of this civil party shows us that there is confusion as to several important dates. I will get to this later. With regard to this particular date, already this morning I have heard 3 different dates. I've heard July 1977 as to when he attended the political training sessions at Borikela. I've heard late 1977 as to when he attended training sessions at Borikela, and I've just now heard 2 months after he started his hospital training in June 1975, which would place it squarely in 1975. So I think this crucial issue needs to be addressed. It needs to be fleshed out. In fact, that is one of the main purposes of the questioning. So with your permission, Mr. President, I would like to have this issue clarified.
The President, the objection is not sustained. The Chamber now allows counsel for the accused to seek clarification on dates from the civil party when he worked at the Khmer Soviet Hospital and his time when he attended the political training session at Borikela. Civil party is now asked to respond precisely to the questions concerning the dates. Response. Mr. President, according to my calculation, it is obviously true that it was in 1976. Yesterday I did say perhaps it was in late 1976 or early 1977. That was my statement. I do not know how my statement was recorded by counsel, but I will have to stand by the 1976 as the date I attended that study session, and that's the exact date I recollect. The President, civil party, could you please again be more precise? Because it appears to us that it was in June 1976, or it's just June and you don't remember the exact date, because we already see that there is some kind of misunderstanding or level of uncertainty concerning the dates when people attended the political training session at Borei Kela. So please confirm the exact year again. If possible, you should not say the Khmer way of calling the month, because when you say the 6 months of the year in Khmer, it is difficult to be understood because it could have been mistaken for like the year like 1976. So just say precisely if it is the 6th month, then you say in June rather. Response. Thank you, Mr. President. I remember to be the 6th or 7th month of the year, and I am sorry if I am not precisely clear concerning the date, the exact month in Khmer, for example, June or July. I don't know that in Khmer. I know that it was the 6th or 7th month of the year. The President, we understand that you have trouble saying the month in Khmer, but can you be more precise again? For example, when you entered Khmer Soviet Hospital, in which month of which year? For example, the 6th, rather in June 1975. Then you attended a political training session in Borei Kela. So when exactly was the training conducted when you attended? The chamber needs to know these logic sequences of the dates, and please be more precise, otherwise we would have to commit so much of our time dwelling on this time and again. Response. Thank you, Mr. President. I will have to choose to attend the political training session on June 1976. Or please allow me some more time to recollect this. I will have to say that it was in July 1976.
Mr. Witness, I understand it may be hard to recollect these dates, but one thing that might assist you in getting the date accurate is the method that you just applied, and that was the following. You stated that you attended the political meeting at Borei Kela around 2 months after you started your work at the Khmer Soviet Friendship Hospital. Is that still now your recollection, that you attended that training 2 months after you started work at the Khmer Soviet Friendship Hospital?
Response. I have already stated before.
Perhaps this is difficult to understand in English, but does this mean that you confirm that you attended these training sessions around 2 months after you started your work at the Khmer Soviet Friendship Hospital?
Response. I have to tell you that at the beginning I was not precise on the dates, and I did not that I would face this consequence. And forgive me if I am not very consistent in the date, because it was a long time ago. But I still stand by the position that the political training session was conducted about 2 months after I went to that school or that hospital.
Thank you. Mr. M. Un. Yesterday we spoke a little bit about Mr. Sarin, and you informed the chamber that Mr. Sarin had told you about the proceedings at the ECCC. And before we broke for the recess, you told us that Mr. Sarin had told you about a political training session at Borek Kela that he had attended. Can you tell the chamber what Mr. Sarin told you about the political training session that he attended in Borek Kela?
Response. I was told by Mr. Sarin concerning how to apply, how to submit the application, but he didn't tell me in details when he attended that training session also. I don't know about this.
What did Mr. Sarin tell you about the training session that he attended?
Response. He didn't say anything about the training to me. He only stated that he attended that session. That's all.
And which session did Mr. Sarin attend?
He only told me that he had attended the political training session. And he had also told me that that particular training session lasted for 6 days. That was what he had told me.
And did Mr. Sarin tell you about the speakers at that training session?
No, he did not.
And did he tell you when the training session that he attended was held?
I did not ask him about that either. I only learned that he had attended a political training session held at Borek Kela. That was it.
And how did you find out that Mr. Sarin had attended a political training session at Borek Kela? Did, for example, he start to speak about this by himself? Or did you ask him about it?
To my recollection, I actually told him that I was attending the political training session and the medical training at the hospital. And then he later also told me that he had also attended this particular political training session. Let me add to this answer. You asked me about the date when he told me or attended the training sessions, and I do not recollect. I do not know.
Is it possible that you attended the same training session?
The President. Witness, please hold on. The prosecution, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday evening, the last question that was put to the civil party was to know if he had participated in the same political training session in Borikela with Mr. Sasarin, and then he quite clearly said he was in a different session. He's been given the same question just now, which is therefore repetitive. Thank you.
There is, Mr. President, confusion as to the dates. The witness does not know what the date was for Mr. Sarsarin's training session. He is clearly has been moving back and forth as to the date that he has attended this training session. I think it's important to get this answer straight, whether or not it's possible that Mr. Sarsarin and Mr. Emun attended the same training session.
The President. The objection and the grounds for objection is sustained. The witness needs not answer to this question. The question is repetitive, and in addition, the question also elicits some kinds of speculation and assumption from the witness. Correct interpreters from the civil party.
Mr. Emun, did Sarsarin tell you that during his political training session at Bore Kela, the names of traders such as Koi Tuon were mentioned?
Respond. I think that the question is again repetitive, and I would like to refrain from answering this question. The President. Witness, you were instructed to respond to the question put to you. It is the discretion of the chamber through the President to decide whether or not you should respond to the questions or not. So you are supposed to respond to the question. I have already advised you that you should pay attention to the question put to you, and you should limit your answer to the question asked. Try to avoid deviating from the questions being asked. Otherwise, you will have mounting pressure because there will be more questions put to you. There will be dozens of other questions. So you should try to respond to the question as clearly as possible. Here we are in the examination process, so we have to follow the due process of the hearing. If you do not know the answer to the question, then you simply say so. And if you do not know the answer, you should not, by any means, speculate in your answer. Civil Party. Thank you, Mr. President. The reason for not responding to this question, as I said earlier, it was the affairs of other people I did not know. I did not know whether or not Sorceran had anything to do with the training course, but he did tell me that he attended the training course, and I did not know when he attended the training course.
And my question to you was, did he tell you, when you were discussing the training course, that in the political session that he attended, the names of traders such as Khoi Tuon were mentioned? If you don't remember, that is fine.
Response. I say I do not know in my earlier statement because I do not recollect. It could have been mentioned somewhere, but I just do not recollect.
I look at the clock and I move on to my next topic. Perhaps my colleagues will get back to this point, but I have further questions. And Mr. Amoun, my further questions relate to your interactions with DC Cam. Is it correct that you wrote your second victim information form at DC Cam here in Phnom Penh?
Yesterday, I told the court that I wrote this victim information form by my own handwriting, and I also asked the staff members of the DC camp to assist me in filling the forms, because I find the forms a bit complicated myself, so I asked them for their assistance.
And just to be clear, did they provide this assistance at the offices of DC Cam here in Phnom Penh, or was it somewhere else?
Yes, the assistant was provided at the documentation center of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
And was there one representative of DC Cam present during that assistance, or were there more?
I do not actually know who was who over there, because I did not know the staff members of DC camps. There were people walking back and forth in that place, and I did not know whether or not they were staff members of the DC camp.
Can you give us an estimate as to how long you were at DC Cam the day that you filed your victim information form? Was it an hour? Was it 2 hours? Was it 4 hours?
On that point, I stayed there for a short period of time. I was a motor taxi rider. I had to earn a living every day, and I asked them to assist me in filling in the form, and I was there to fix my thumbprint. I met them 1 hour or 1 hour and a half or so, and they tried to assist me in accordance to what I have handwritten myself. I wrote it at my house myself, and then they just copy into the form.
And just to get the picture clear, you stated that there were several people walking in and out, but was there one person that was your contact person at DC Cam with whom you spoke?
ខ្ញុំតាក់ទងតែបុគ្គលដែលខ្ញុំត្រូវពឹងខ្ញុំបានតាក់ទងអាណា
I only contacted the person whom I asked for assistance. I did not contact any other staff member of the DC camp.
And the person that provided you with assistance, did this person show you any photographs of, for example, the senior leaders of Democratic Cambodia?
No, he did not.
You state that he provided assistance. Can you tell us a little bit more about what sort of assistance this person provided?
The assistance he provided was to copy the answer or my statement from my handwritten note onto the written form.
And just so I get this straight, and it's just to clarify, does that mean that the handwriting in your DC Cam application is not yours but of a member of DC Cam? I can provide the witness with a copy of the DC Cam application, which might make it easier to answer this question. Mr. President, I would suggest that I provide the witness with document D223963 with English ERN 007 51861 till 007 51874. And
The President, Mr. Jasper Bow, could you please repeat the ERN number, because the translation did not get through, so that it is clear for the record.
Certainly. It is document number D22/3963. English ERN is 00751861, and Khmer ERN is 00573967. We discussed this document earlier when the prosecution and the civil parties were asking questions. I have a hard copy for the witness if that makes it easier.
The President, you may proceed. Court officer is instructed to look at the document placed before the witness if he has that document before him. Otherwise, you can obtain the hard copy document from counsel and present it to him. And please indicate the portion with which the counsel is referring.
Just to clarify, Mr. Emun, and perhaps the court officer can be of assistance. If we look at ERN number 00573974, that's where handwriting starts. And The question is simply, is that your handwriting or the handwriting of someone at DC Cam?
Response. This handwriting belonged to me. Actually, it was my handwriting, but for the English writing, since I do not speak or write English, so it does not belong to me. It was written by others. But once again, whatever they copy in this form, I confirm that statement because I also affixed my thumbprint over there. And in my personal handwriting, there could have been errors or mistakes or so because I was not very well literate. And in addition, I was quite busy making a living on a daily basis.
And in that same victim information form on page 00573987, and perhaps the court officer could assist the civil party, there is another handwritten portion, and that seems to be in a, well, let me ask the question in an open way. Is that also your handwriting, Mr. M. Un, or is that someone else's?
Could you please repeat your question because I don't really catch your question.
The page number that you're looking at, 00573987, there is another handwritten portion, and it is an addendum to the victim information form that was provided later. And I would like you to tell us whether or not that is your handwriting or someone else's.
If you look at the handwriting style, they are different. So this additional portion does not belong to me. It was not my handwriting, but I ask people to assist me in filling in this part of the form. Thank you.
And your original DC Chem victim information form is dated the 29th of January 2010. This addendum that we just looked at in different handwriting is dated the 23rd of March 2010, so about 2 months later. Could you tell the Chamber why you provided this additional information around 2 months later?
I have already told the court already that when I asked him for assistance, I was not with him. I simply asked him to copy the corresponding statements from my handwriting onto the form. And the reason for the delay after 2 months after I submitted the first form was because I was residing in the countryside. It would take some time normally to do this job. Once again, the copy of my statement to this form might contain certain errors or so. I cannot totally guarantee the veracity of this because I could not read everything over there. But I do not deny the fact that I asked him for assistance. I recognize his assistance, and I also affix my thumbprints to reaffirm my statement there.
Mr. Emun, I'm not sure I understand correctly, so just to get it clear, I will provide you with a little timeline on, and that might clarify matters for you. On the 25th of January 2010, you provided a victim information form, and you have stated that that was written by you. 4 days later, on the 29th of January 2010, you went to DC Cam and provided a lengthy statement, and today you testified that was in your own handwriting. Then there is a time period of 2 months, excuse me, a gap of 2 months until you provide an addendum, or as it's called, supplementary information. And that is dated 23rd of March 2010. And my question to you is, why did you provide that supplementary information 2 months later? Did, for example, anyone ask you to provide that supplementary information, or was it your own idea?
I stated earlier that I had a very short time to fill in the first form, and upon considering what I had written in that form, I wanted to add additional information to that form. And as I said, I asked the person at the DC camp to assist in adding that information. And again, I could only ask for their assistance over there. I could not ask anybody else for helps.
And did the person at DC Cam speak about Borei Kela with you? The political training sessions at Borei Kela, to be more precise.
No, actually, the person who assisted me at the DC camp did not even know that there was a political training center or session at Borei Kela.
And just to get the picture clear, when you arrived at DC Cam, did you bring the victim information form to DC Cam? The first one that you had written on the 25th of January?
Response. Could you please repeat your question? I don't get it.
When you went to DC Cam on the 29th of January 2010, did you bring along the form that you had prepared on the 25th of January, which is the first victim information form?
I would like to add to it a little bit. I, at that time, asked the ideas from the documentation centers of Cambodia, and they told us that if I was the victims of the regimes, then I could get the victim information form from the DC camp, but I did not copy what other people said in other forms because I did not bother to know what other people had said about their suffering. I only write in response to the points concerning my personal suffering from the regime.
And speaking about other people in your DC Cam victim information form, you speak about two other people, Kyo Saron and Kyo Sam Nat. Could you tell the chamber who these people are and why you listed them as possible witnesses?
Response. I never met Kyo Samnat, but I have met Kyo Sarun. So, to be clear, I have never known another person mentioned by you in the list.
And Kyo Saron, who is he and what relevant information might he have with regard to the crimes that you witnessed?
Response. I think it will take a long time to elaborate. Kyo Sarun was a member of the Sector 20. He was my cousin, and he could talk to people about my father. Mr. Sarun is alive, and he can also be asked some questions, should you wish.
Okay. And I might get back to this point later, but in the interest of time, I will move on for now. Do you remember when you fled into the forest? Do you remember the year?
Response. Could you please be more precise to which period you're referring to? Because I fled into the jungle on several occasions. But in which period you are now referring to, please?
Can you then give us an overview of the times that you fled into the jungle in the periods of the DK regime?
Response. I fled to the jungle in 1978, running from Sector 20.
មូលហេតុដែល
The reason I had to flee because I noted that my life was a living hell with the CPK. So I, with my wife, fled into a jungle. At that time, there was no counter Khmer Rouge movement yet. So my spouse and I had to live our life in the jungle, feeding ourselves on the leaves and other byproducts from the market. Later on, we were joined by other people who fled and then went to the jungle.
You state that you fled into the jungle in 1978. Can you be more precise as to in which month of 1978 this was?
Response. I'm afraid I do not recollect the exact date.
And can you explain to the Chamber why you are certain that it was 1978?
Response. It is obviously true that it was in 1978, though I could not recollect the exact month. We were on the run when it was a rainy season. We had to wade through the floods and forests, so that could recollect me of the season. It was rainy season. So again, I could not remember exactly the month, although I still recollect that it was a rainy season because it was flooded and we had to run through the water.
In your DC CAM statements or your victim information form that you submitted to DC CAM, you stated that, and I quote, "I fled from the Sector 20 hospital located in Char village, Kramhung subdistrict, Kamchai Mayar district, Preveng province in 1977. I will show you the page number in the hard copy. If the court officer can assist. It is Khmer ERN 00573981, and it's on English ERN 00751868. And I'll give you some time to look at the section. Go ahead.
Response. I already confirmed that I do not talk about this because I would like to please everyone, but the exact date was during the rainy season. I had to run through the mud and the flood. I had to do our best. We had to do our best to escape from the hardship. But again, I am sorry if I can't recollect the exact date. To us, we did not care so much about the exact date. We only focused on how to survive, how to run away from all the troubles, and found a place that we could take refuge. But I did not remember the date again.
Mr. Amun, I fully understand that it's hard to recollect the dates. Unfortunately for us in this courtroom, it is important. Is it fair to say, Mr. Amun, that you do not recall exactly whether you fled into the forest in 1977 or 1978?
Response. I even stated in my writing that it was in 7 August. So the story in my writing is not consistent because I perhaps have made mistake myself when writing it, and I at that time could not have very well collected the event, although the truth is there. I mean, the event, the elements of the event are there, and I apologize for not being precise on the dates, or if the dates are not consistent.
Thank you, Mr. Amun. Also, in this same document that you submitted to DT Cam, you state, and I quote, "In 1975, I was assigned to work as a medic to treat people, although I had no medical background." End of quote. This can be found on page number 00573976. And the English ERN is 00751867. I'll let the court assistant, court officer assist you with this. And I just wanted to give you a chance to comment on that sentence, because last week in court you testified extensively about the medical training that you had been receiving even since early childhood. So my question is it true what you wrote in your DT Chem statement, that you had no medical background, or is it true what you testified in this court, and that is that, in fact, you had been receiving some form of medical training since you were young?
Response. Before continuing, I would like to also clarify that the reason I stated that I became the medic, although I had no medical background, it is true because I learned on the job. I was never formally or properly trained on medical skill. So I acquired the skills informally, never recognized by the state. That's why I indicated in the statement that I became the medic with no medical background.
Okay, that is clear. Yesterday, you testified on the issue of trucks that came to take people away at the hospital. And I want to quote from the transcript. It is on page 19 and 20 of the English transcripts. I do not have the Khmer transcript yet, as this just came in, but I can provide that during the break. I quote, you were asked yesterday, I quote, "Can you expand a little bit further on this issue? I would like to know whether or not there were trucks sent by the Ministry of Social Affairs or Ministry of Health, or the trucks belonged to the hospital itself. Did you ever see that those trucks take those who were arrested away from the hospital premise?" This was the question by the prosecutor. And your answer was, Mr. Amun, "Actually, I never saw it by my own eyes, of the trucks taking away the people who were arrested. And normally, you know, the ambulance of the hospital was always closed. We could not see anything inside, and I did not see other trucks outside the hospital premise either." End of quote. So yesterday you testified in court that you never saw it by your own eyes, the trucks taking away the people who were arrested. Do you today stand by that statement that you never saw that with your own eyes, the trucks taking away the people who were arrested?
Response. I wish to stand by the statement I already gave, which is true. However, I also wish to state that I did not see the people carried away in the ambulance, because the ambulance was covered or was insulated, but I saw people who were taken away by the military truck.
So sorry, I did not understand your last answer. You said you did not see the people being taken away by ambulance, but you did see them being taken away by military truck?
Response. Yes, as I indicated, I did not see the ambulance taking people from the hospital, but I did see people being taken by military truck from the hospital.
There might be a issue of translation in the transcript, and I will clarify this during the break. As yesterday, according to the English transcript, you stated, "Actually, I never saw it by my own eyes, of the trucks taking away the people who were arrested." So, again, I will look at I'll look with the Cambodian co-counsel at the transcript of yesterday's hearing to further clarify this issue. So I may need to come back to this particular topic. Yesterday, you spoke about Mr. Thioun. Can you tell the court what his role was in your training? there was a glitch. Mr. Tune, what was his role in your education?
Response. Mr. Jun was the head of the technical unit of the hospital.
And what sort of education did he provide you with?
Response. So far as I remember, Mr. Jun did not use politics in his training. He liked taking trainees directly to see the patients. So he taught us on the job rather than basing his teaching on theory. So he never provided us with trainings in normal training sessions with document. Normally he took us to see the patients and how patients were being treated, and we were asked to learn on the job.
And just to elaborate a bit more on this, yesterday you testified that he taught you about the scientific medical matters. Could you tell us a little bit about which scientific medical matters Mr. Tune educated you on?
Response. I don't think I understand your question. I stated that Mr. Jun did not teach theory. He was a leader. He was not seen in the training sessions himself. He only let us to see the patients and taught us practically on the job. For example, people who had malaria, people who had liver problem, people who got their legs swollen, so on and so forth. So these patients would be inspected, and trainees would also be asked to see what he would teach from treating these patients on the spot.
Thank you, Mr. Amun. Just to be clear, I did not ask you about any political training that Mr. Tune might have conducted. I was indeed asking you about the medical training that Mr. Tune provided you with. And you also yesterday spoke about Korean and Chinese individuals that assisted in the medical procedures. Could you tell us a bit more about what these Korean and Chinese individuals did in that time at the Khmer Soviet Friendship Hospital?
Response. Koreans and Chinese normally taught us theory. At that time, I did not know whether their message were well interpreted during the training sessions, but they were engaged in the scientific sessions and the sessions that would be chaired by these Koreans and the Chinese.
But do you remember what sort of topics they educated on?
Response. I do not know how to elaborate on this, because when it comes to medical skill, it is very comprehensive and technical. And indeed, when people taught us on the medical skills, then they would be teaching us on how to treat the patients, how to inject some form of injection, and how to prescribe medicines to trainees. I am sorry that I have nothing left. For example, the documents were all destroyed, burned, or torn apart, and I had to be on the run on several occasions that I could never keep the documents with me to prove this. However, the Chinese people like using the what we call needles as part of the acupuncture treating techniques, when the Chinese experts would be teaching us on how to conduct or perform a surgery on a patient like that.
And yesterday, excuse me, yesterday you also stated that Ni, who was one of your trainers, was good at training TB, was good at training people on TB. Do you remember if Mr. Tun was particularly skilled in teaching a certain topic?
Response. I did not check Mr. Jun's background, but he was educated in France. He specialized in heart surgery. In 1972, he conducted a heart transplant performance. So he was good at heart operation, and he could even said at one point that whatever he mentioned about heart related problem, then he was very precise and specific, and he was skillful as well, because he claimed that he had been trained in France on heart related illness.
So Mr. Tun was a French-educated heart surgeon, and he was one of the individuals that was training you at the Khmer Soviet Friendship Hospital. Is that a fair summary of your statement?
Response. Yes, it is correct. However, I'd like to also confirm on the person by the name Ni. Ni specialized in lung-related disease. He specialized in treating TB. And he was of a senior age back then, and he was also a trainer, and he specialized in lung-related disease.
And do you remember, or do you know where Mr. Ni was educated?
Response. I am afraid that I have never asked him about this, so it doesn't mean I reject answering your question, but I just don't know.
I will move on to the next topic. It is about the political training session at Boré Kela that you said you attended. And in the first victim information form that you provided, you speak about Kyo Sampan. And Kyo Sampan, according to you, spoke about women that destroyed needles. And the English reference for that is 007777625, and the Khmer reference for that is 00508-424. In your statement last week, you spoke again about Kyo Sampan that spoke about women that broke needles. That can be found on page 83 of the transcript of last week, Thursday. So, you have twice stated that Mr. Kyo Sampan spoke about women that broke needles and how they should be dealt with. To your recollection, did you hear any of the other senior leaders speak about this issue of breaking needles?
Response. I did not accuse him of saying that women broke needles, but it was part of the study document that each politician or each leader would start by commenting on this element. And it is true that when needles were referred to, they referred to the discipline of the party. They said that in order to find out who would be the infiltrated enemies, then we needed to look at those people's performance. So to do so, one needed to allow people to work more, eat less. And they had to look into the activity of the persons who were doing farming. And if these individuals every now and then broke things, even needles, if women broke needles often, these people could also be perceived as enemies, not just women, anyone. The President. Thank you, Council, and thank you, Mr. Civil Party. It is now appropriate a moment for the adjournment. The Chamber will adjourn for 20 minutes. The next session will be resumed by 10 to 11, and Court Officer is instructed to assist Mr. Civil Party during the break.
សូមក្រោកឈរ